Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we are going to be talking about binge eating. Now this is a huge topic, and I was almost overwhelmed when I thought about filming it because there's just so much to unpack. I will say before we get too far into this that I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a psychologist. I in no way, shape or form can diagnose an eating disorder. This is purely my own experience, and I know that I'm probably not alone, and the point of this video is to help other people, to share the ways that I've coped with binge eating in the hope that it will help someone else. So let's get stuck into it. The term binge eating is thrown around a lot, and it can be used to describe anything from a genuine eating disorder to eating too much at dinner one night. I want to be really clear about my definition of binge eating and how it relates to this video. So I'm not talking about eating way too much at dinner one night and feeling sick when you go to bed, or even going out to dinner with friends to a great new restaurant and ordering too much food because you get too keen and the menu's just amazing. So you overorder, you overeat, and you all go home feeling a bit sick and fatigued and bloated. To some extent, that's perfectly normal. It's part of being a human and enjoying food in a social context. So if you're not sure what I mean by binge eating, let me explain to you. I'm talking about eating to the point of feeling sick on a really regular basis. Eating foods that you don't even like just because they happen to be there. It's often foods that are not nutritionally sound. They're purely comfort food. It's often eating when you're not hungry. There's often guilt and shame associated with the eating. It can often happen in secret. You may eat a perfectly normal, balanced diet in front of other people, and then when you're alone, that's when you decide to binge. It can often happen at really vulnerable moments. So when things are hard, challenging, stressful, sad, that can be when you turn to food. It can also mean eating food in a bit of a hurry and a bit of a panic. And that can come sometimes because you're desperate to comfort yourself. So the quicker you eat, the quicker you feel that you'll feel comforted. But it can also come from, you live in a house with other people and you've only got a short time. So you quickly run downstairs and you eat as much as you possibly can. And you feel guilty, you feel physically sick, you feel shame. It often is associated with lying about food. It doesn't have to, but it can do. Also hiding food. It's not uncommon to buy foods that you know you are going to want to binge on later and then hide them somewhere else in the house so that no one else can find them or no one else knows what you're up to. So think about the difference between going out to dinner with friends or family and overindulging to some extent, but doing it in a setting that is quite positive. You're around people, you're not lying about it, you don't feel guilty or ashamed. It's just kind of happening in the moment. And compare that to going to the grocery store, buying chips, chocolate, pizza, ice cream, coming home, trying to hide them in your home, and then deliberately seeking out times when no one else is around to eat them so nobody knows. Feeling like you've let yourself down, but you've also let everyone else around you down. The feeling that you have between those two scenarios, physically, emotionally, mentally, are very, very different. The reasons for eating are very, very different. I think to some extent, most people have experienced some kind of emotional eating before. So in a really stressful time in your life, you might turn to food for comfort, which doesn't mean that you have disordered eating or an eating disorder. Food is comforting, and most humans would agree with that. And we use it in times of celebration and happiness and coming together and being social, and it's usually associated with positive things, but it is still very much a comfort thing. So if we feel sad or stressed or scared, we can turn to food. And doing that every now and then is probably not going to be an issue, unless of course you think it is, and then you can manage that, which we'll get into later. But I don't think it happening every now and then is going to be a big deal. So what I just talked about, the experience of eating in secret and lying about it and hiding your food and being really upset, imagine that happening a lot, like a lot. Sometimes it might not happen for weeks at a time, depending on how you're managing, but it can happen daily. So for me, binge eating is this uncontrolled, unenjoyable, literally trying to eat your emotions on a regular basis type situation. So if that sounds like you, this video is for you. So this video is titled How to Stop Binge Eating. And I know you're probably looking at me thinking, how can me, help you stop binge eating when I'm clearly overweight? I may not be at my peak physical form yet, but I have made a lot of progress in the binge eating realm. So I started gaining weight probably back in primary school, to be honest with you. And I've done a video on this. One of my first videos was why I started this channel, and I talked a lot about that. I've always had issues with eating and eating too much. But a few years ago, I started gaining weight rapidly. And I mean rapidly, like 10 kilos a year type thing. However, I am pleased to report that over the last 18 months or so, I haven't really gained any weight at all. I've gone up and down a few kilos, but this time last year, I weighed pretty much the same. And I get that that sounds kind of disappointing for someone on a weight loss journey, but let me tell you, after gaining weight so quickly that it was alarming for so many years in a row, to not have changed, to not have gained weight in 18 months is pretty refreshing. And how I have done that is to change my relationship with food. And a big part of that is the binge eating. So we're often told that to stop binge eating or to stop going from crazy diets to binging and back again, we have to adopt a healthy lifestyle and eat a nutritionally balanced diet and exercise regularly and work on our mental health. Having a healthy lifestyle is not how you overcome binge eating. Having a healthy lifestyle and healthy relationship with food and a nutritionally balanced diet is an end result of overcoming binge eating. It is not how you do it. I wanted to know how. Actually, how? How do I stop putting food in my mouth? How do I stop the feelings of guilt and shame and eating in secret? And how do I stop turning to food every single time life got hard? Because that's how I was in this position. A nutritionally sound diet sounded like a pipe dream, not something I could just wake up on Monday morning and decide to do. I wanted to know how. And the good news for you is that I've largely figured it out. So through my experience, my mistakes, my wins, my whole journey, I want to help someone else. So that is what this video is about. The first thing I had to do was ask myself, why? Why am I doing this? If I am not hungry, if I feel physically sick from eating, if I'm embarrassed about what I'm doing, if I know that this is not helping me in any way, why do I continue to do it? How am I feeling when I ransack the fridge and the pantry? How am I feeling when I'm walking around Woolworths, putting things in my basket that I know no one else could know about? I have a really bad habit of switching between tenses. So after a lot of thinking, quite a bit of writing, some crying, turns out I'm a bit of a crier, I started kind of formulating an answer. There was a hole that I was trying to fill in my life. I was using food to like stuff a hole, to fill a void, to help me feel comfort when I was really uncomfortable. I'm talking about doing it all the time because there was something missing in my life. So the first step to stop binge eating is to find the hole in your life. When I say hole or gap, I mean the thing that you are trying to stuff with food. The thing that you want to forget about, the problem that's too hard, the pain that is too much that you are trying to cover with processed carbohydrates and a bowl of pasta that could probably serve a family of 4. So that's the first thing you need to do. Find the thing that is causing you to binge eat. And I know that is so much easier said than done. Not only is that a huge piece of work and a huge piece of personal development, but it can also take time. So you don't necessarily have to have that issue totally resolved before you can move on to the second step, but identifying it, thinking about it, working on it, writing about it is a really great first step. Is it your relationships? Is it your work, your career? Is it the thing that you're studying at the moment? Is it an overall feeling of hopelessness? Is it mental illness? Is it unresolved trauma? Is it a feeling of emptiness? Is it not doing enough of your hobbies and passions? Is it not having hobbies and passions? Is it boredom? Is it an unhealthy lifestyle? Is it your environment? Is it where you live? Is it the property you live in? Is it the people you live with? Is it the suburb you live in? Is it the state you live in? Is it the country you live in? Your environment is a huge factor. I want to mention 2 things here. Firstly, yes, that is sunburn. Really bad sunburn. I'm sorry, Mum. But just in case that was distracting you, it is sunburn. Second point, you don't have to do this alone. Step 1 is extremely hard, extremely confronting. I would definitely recommend not doing it alone. So, getting family and friends on board can be really helpful if that is the kind of thing you want to do. I can also understand how getting family and friends on board is literally the worst idea you've ever heard.
Can we not?
So that is totally up to you. Or you can get some professional help from a doctor, psychologist, counselor, therapist, whatever you want to call it. I know that can sound really overwhelming, but it could also be the difference between you succeeding and not succeeding in getting over this binge eating. There is nothing wrong with asking for help. These people's careers literally exist because so many people need their help. So if you think it will help you, do it. If you're not sure, do it anyway, because you've got nothing to lose. So let me share with you my story of binge eating, and hopefully that puts this into context. So I identified a number of different reasons why I was binge eating, and I managed them all slightly differently. So for example, I've been in positions where I don't like where I'm living, and it just really gets in the way of my vibe. So I have moved house, I've moved suburbs, I've moved interstate, I've kind of shuffled around and waited until I found a place that really worked for me. And I know that's not possible for everyone, and it's not something that you can do straight away. These are not all mandatory things that you have to do to stop binge eating. These are things that I have worked on at various points over the last few years. I didn't just wake up one day and do them all. This has been a massive effort, and it's taken a long time, and I'm still actively working on all of these things as well. So please don't think you have to do everything immediately to help yourself, because you certainly don't. So I've moved my living situation a number of times on a number of different scales until it felt right. I have changed careers. I used to work in property development and it wasn't for me. So I changed into human resources, which made a huge difference. I then, when I moved interstate, had to find a new job, and I was quite adamant that I had certain needs that had to be met by that job, including a work-life balance. And also I wanted a workplace that was situated in a nice area, because traveling to an area that you're not keen on and doing that 5 days a week, not something I wanted to do. So I changed my career and I picked a job that met my needs to a certain extent. I mean, it's still a 9-to-5 job, so there's only so many things I could do, but I did pretty well, I think. I also realized that whilst human resources was better than property development, it still isn't ticking all my boxes. So last year I started a Masters of Human Nutrition, and I did one subject, which was, it was awesome, but it was so hard. It was really hard to get back into the study side of things. I'm not huge on study, but I know I have to do it because it's going to carry me on to my next career. And I am years off being done, literally years, because I'm trying to fit it in with full-time work. But even just knowing I'm on the right trajectory makes all the difference. I also didn't really have any creative outlets. I felt like that could be something I could really benefit from. So that's partly why I started this YouTube channel. It's part kind of self-therapy because it feels good to talk about things and to think that I could potentially help somebody. It's also partly trying to incorporate more creativity into my life. It's also about learning a new skill. So I had no idea how to film. I still don't really, but I'm learning to film, I'm learning to edit, I'm learning about content creation, I'm learning about YouTube as a platform. It's amazing. I never thought I'd do anything like this, and I'm doing it. Exercise has been a big thing for me. So I've struggled with exercise because I've always associated it with weight loss and not so much part of just a normal healthy lifestyle. And it goes from one extreme to the other with me with exercise, or it has done in the past, I should say, quite similar to the eating. So it's something I've struggled with, and trying to change my mind about when and how and why I exercise, that has made a big difference. So I find going on a walk, putting some great music in, which sounds really basic, but I love walking. It makes me feel good physically and mentally, and it's like a burst of adrenaline and endorphins, and I just love it. I also like yoga and I like hiking, and I also really want to learn to surf, and these are all things that I can't really do at the moment because I need to work on my overall fitness and a few little alignment issues that I need to see a physio for, and also some weight loss as well to make those activities more enjoyable. So I know that by walking, it's not only enjoyable in itself, but it's a step closer to filling my life with even more things that mean something to me and add value to my life. Something else I like to do is go for adventures, and they're not epic, expensive overseas adventures, although those are also fantastic. But I'm talking about everyday adventures. So day trips, drives, scenic walks, going to nearby towns, and even different suburbs. Getting out and about has really helped me improve my life and connect with the world. Something related to getting out and about, but also a topic in itself, I think, is getting back to nature. And I dare say everybody can benefit from this. No matter what the reason is for your binge eating, getting out into nature will help you. It's about getting some sunshine, getting some fresh air, seeing some animals, seeing some greenery. Getting into nature just makes you feel alive. Getting into nature is wonderful, and it is something that has made a huge difference to me. Having more time for myself and slowing down and putting more of a routine in place, that's something that I've only recently started working on, but is already making a big difference. So I swapped up my skincare routine a few months ago, and having products that actually work on my skin and don't dry it out and make it feel even worse, game changer. Not only does my skin look better and feel better, but I've turned it into a full routine that I love doing, and it's a great way to start the day, and it's a great way to wind down at the end of the day. Such a simple change, but it's had a big impact. And working in meditation to my day, which I've literally started 4 days ago. I've been talking about it for so long, and I finally started. That's already made a big difference as well. And journaling, I have forgotten to journal for the last like 5 nights, but that even just doing it for a few nights in a row made a big difference, and it forms part of a routine. Having those routines has helped me a lot. So what's the point in me telling you about all this stuff that I've started doing? I was binge eating because I was living a life that was misaligned to my goals, my values, what I wanted and what I needed. So I had to change that. I had to change up my life so that there were less holes that I was trying to fill with food. There were less things making me uncomfortable, less things making me sad. And I don't mean to say that you should shy away from challenges, because challenging yourself and being uncomfortable to some extent is absolutely vital in growing as a human being. But I'm talking about the unwanted challenges, and I'm talking about feeling uncomfortable in all the wrong ways and living a life that isn't you. It's not what you want, and you're just stuck in this weird version of your own life, and you know that you're the only one that can change it and do anything about it, but the thought of it is so overwhelming and so hard and so frustrating that you just eat and you eat and you eat and you eat and you gain weight and you feel disgusting. And then to combat how bad you feel and how guilty you feel and how much your body has changed in a way that you didn't want, you keep eating. So how do you stop binge eating? Firstly, find the reason that you're eating. Find that hole, find that gap that you are trying to fill with food, and work on it. Then, number 2, fill your life with things that bring you joy. Align your life to your goals and your needs and your wants. Not just what's comfortable, not just what's easy. And don't keep telling yourself that you'll make those changes when it's a better time. It's never going to be a better time. If you're living a life that is not you, it is not what you want for yourself, stop thinking that future you is going to sort it out. Because future you is counting on current you to start making some changes. And I know it's not easy. I've been through it. I know firsthand how hard it is and how long it can take and how many times you just want to stop and you want to quit and you want to go back to your unsatisfying but easier life. It's not worth it. I know it, you know it. Find the hole. Start managing those issues and start filling the hole with the things you need to start living a better version of your own life. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. I really hope this video can help someone out there, anyone, start to overcome their struggle with binge eating.